Oh, God. This was your idea, George. It's a good idea, right? It's a good idea. Monogamy is sexual slavery. She got an exquisite pussy. Well, how about my exquisite erection, huh? Eva, what do you think? You like my exquisite erection? Do you like my erection selection? What do you think, Eva? Yeah? You gonna take it? You gonna take that dick? You gonna take that dick, huh? I'm gonna pop off a piece of my dick. Oh yeah, I'm fixin' to fuck you. I'm gonna fuck you. I'm gonna get it all up in your vag. Get it up in your vag with my dick. With my dick. Gonna put it in with my dick. I'm gonna put my dick in. I'm gonna put my dick in.
I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Secret Ball Stories. Welcome to Prattle World. I am your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan. And in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Secret Ball Stories, where I invite guests to count down a personal top 5 list in high-fidelity fashion. And have we got a deep, low-down, and dirty guest today to talk top 5 weirdest sex scenes. We have the attention-seeking geek, love-making seeking, I'm sure. Just we're all seeking love deep down, and Ben is no different to that. So welcome, Ben. How are you today?
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's up there with some of the best introductions I've never had. That was special. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, you've brought this is a kind of an idea you've had for a little while. So why don't you tell us?
Don't put this on me. Okay, to start off with, this was a joint venture. Okay, this was we had the spark, and we said, shall we? Let's jump together, and we decided on this together.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it came off the end of our Halloween 3 discussion on your YouTube channel, the attention-seeking geek. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. It was a whole boob grab situation, I think, or boob touch.
Boob suck.
Boob suck. That was it. God, I forgot. I can't believe I forgot. Boob suck.
Never forget that iconic hashtag boob suck.
Hashtag boob suck. Going in from the side, going in from the sexy side style boob.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that stayed with me.
Anyway. Well, I think we've got a lot to cover today, so I think we should probably just crack on. But I just want to say a few things. So this podcast is top 5 weirdest movie sex scenes, but we do not shame any particular sexuality or style or kink, whatever you're into, as long as it's safe and it's consensual, we're okay with you. So however you enjoy sex, whatever it may be, it is okay. The way we are judging these are on the way they've been written, directed, acted, choreographed, lit, you name it. That's the weirdness. Nobody is weird for having sex or in any way. If you're a furry, if you're into feet, that's fine. Just go and enjoy it, as long, again, as it's safe, consensual, and non-violent for the most part, or not extreme violence, which is not going to feature in this as well. There is no violent acts in any of our choices. There's no murder, no rapes, whatever. But now I've said like that, let's just crack on and let's talk about your weirdest sex scene in your own life, your own personal life.
What? Wait, what? I didn't sign up for this.
Wait, I thought we were doing top 5 personal weirdest sex scenes we've ever done.
No, and don't be 5 people haven't touched you, Dan. Come on. We're friends.
No, probably not.
Look, I'm excited for that. I mean, when we say weird, like as well, like I think it's more a case of these are sex scenes that stand out, that have stood out to us, over the years, and
they're memorable.
Stayed with us. Yeah, memorable or haunting. Some of them may well be, but yeah, I mean, I like Twi'lek, so We've all got
fair enough.
our own thing.
I like Jennifer Beals in Book of Boba Fett, even though they did nothing with her. Absolute waste of that actress. But there you go. Whatever you fancy, whoever you fancy, whatever, it's fine. We've both had some sex. I've had some sex. You probably had a lot of sex. There's proof that you've had sex as you have a child.
Yeah, she's living proof of that one time.
That one time you got some.
Yeah, that special night.
At one time, somebody allowed me into their arms.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's there's been consequences over the years, but she's up there as the biggest consequence.
Consequence
of said action.
We all live with the consequences of our sexual endeavors. Well, let's get rolling before we talk about all sorts of other weird shit. What is your first weirdest movie sex scene?
Oh, choices. Okay, I'm going to come in.
I see what you did.
You've already mentioned cracks and crack on. I giggled to myself. I didn't do it out loud, but it was internal. So I feel like along the way there, enjoy the various choices of word that me and Dan make. Okay, no, I'm going to start then with, we both love superheroes and the superhero genre, comics and the such. So I'm going to start with 2009's The Watchmen.
Okay.
Yes. Now, I know people might be sat there thinking, which one? Because there is kind of two scenes that stand out.
Okay. Yeah. I know where you're going.
Yeah. So, just to be clear, this is not the Dr. Manhattan multiple blue gropey hands scene. Okay. But yes, let's address that. That is quite weird, but also looks like a good time.
Hey, I mean, looking at what he's packing, it's a shame he went to Mars because I'm sure he could have pleasured a lot of ladies with.
It's just like, how trained is he though? Like, because multiple hands is good if you know what to do with those hands, but if you're like a uneducated, in that field, and you've got multiple hands not knowing what they're doing,
you're going to poke someone's eye out,
poke him in the wrong way, like awful, like worst nightmare, if anything.
He's having a good poke and he's having a bad poke at the same time.
Exactly. But no, it's not that scene. No, okay. It is in fact the scene with Night Owl and Laurie, aka Silk Spectre. So, of course, Night Owl, aka Dan, played by Patrick Wilson, and Laurie, played by Malin Ackerman. So, and those guys are no strangers, Dan, to a good bit of naughty cinema.
Absolutely.
Lineage. Have you seen Little Children?
No, but I've seen Patrick Wilson. We talked about Bone Tomahawk, and he has a fairly awkward sex scene as that. I think he's the king. I think him and Nick Cage are the king of awkward sex scenes.
Nice. What a title to wear that with pride.
That's what Nick Cage wants next to his Oscar.
It's actually a new Oscar that they're going to be giving
new
out
category.
They're trialing it. Yeah. No, Little Children. He has like a very steamy scene with Kate Winslet. It's quite very sweaty. And then of course Malin Ackerman. I remember my first experience of Malin Ackerman was Harold and Kumar Get the Munchies.
Oh, okay.
And she, kind of stands proudly as nature intended, and it's,
she is a beautiful.
As a teenage boy, you can, use your imagination on that. But anyway, okay, so yes, it's starring those two, and basically what happens is you have the rescue mission on a burning building, and they rescue a ton of people. And then basically things get a bit kind of kinky afterwards, and they end up having a sexy time. It's actually the second time that they try in the film. Yeah, they kind of try this first time, and Dan's super awkward, and he can't get it up. I think that's fair to guess is what there was insinuated.
A definite failure to launch. To say
absolutely, yeah.
But once he gets that ship in the air, but it kind of goes back to the kind of once he puts on that leather costume, once he gets his ship in the air, once he's riding on Archie, Then he's riding also between the Silk Spectre sheets. You could see.
Nice.
See, I'm on it.
Paired well.
I'm ready. I'm ready for all the double entendres. But yes, and yeah, it kind of says what the book is trying to say, where all the people are kind of superheroes have some sort of mental issue, or they have some sort of kind of complex, or kind of so he can't get it up because he's not in the suit. And then when he's in the suit, it's kind of his kink and it's kind of his thing, and that's how it shows. He hates being a normal guy and a normal person. So, but when he is in that mode, he's like, he's got all of his confidence back. So
yeah, it's kind of the adrenaline of and the fantasy element to their lives when they do dress up and stuff like that. Like,
am I right in thinking it's to the tune of Hallelujah?
Yes, you are correct. Yes. Lovely choice of music there. I mean, what's nice as well, and I kind of rewatched it, is like there's some real kind of interesting choices before it happens. So, and I might just be reading into this, or I might have a filthy mind, but the way when they arrive at the burning building, Night Owl Archie kind of shoots down, what do you call it, like a water tower thing that's on American
just
buildings,
a water.
They have.
Yeah, I think it's just a water tower.
And he shoots it down, and they have this lovely slow-mo shot of all the bullets kind of falling against the floor, and I'm like, there's, what kind of feels like he's unloading maybe like something there, and then the way the tank bursts and all the water kind of flows out. Like, again, I may need to see a psychiatrist, but I felt like that was all.
It's depicted like in the comics. It's kind of like they just kind of there. It's in the image. It's kind of like it's almost like a quick rutting, if you will.
Yeah.
But in this, they obviously Zack Snyder, he loves his slow-mo, he loves his image, he's all about the imagery, and he makes it this ludicrous, beautiful moonlit sex scene. And again, you're like, well, people don't have sex like that, but maybe superheroes do. Maybe superheroes, it's the grand and greatest of all cinematic.
It's almost, the way that they in their heads are maybe picturing it more, because the reality is, if you were on that ship, it wouldn't have played out in slow motion with Hallelujah, and the moon probably didn't shine as bright as it does to us watching the movie. And maybe that's the point, is that in their heads, this whole kind of romantic, sexy kind of vision is happening, but because of the situation, because they're dressed up and because they're kind of got the adrenaline running through their brains, it's almost like giving them this
reliving their glory days, so to speak.
Yeah,
and they get like I can see that, but yeah, I can. It's definitely very memorable. Whether you loved it or loathe it, I like the Watchmen, the film. Zack Snyder, I think he got that right. He filmed effectively an unfilmable film, it was called, for a very long time. So
I love the Watchmen film. Like, the only thing I was disappointed by was the kind of cop out with the squid. He didn't, like, for someone that committed almost panel to frame, like across the whole film, it just felt like you were just reading the Watchmen, basically. Like, to kind of make that choice to remove the squid at the end and have it just as SQUID or whatever on the computer, and I was disappointed by that. But when you read the comic back, like, it does do some of the things that happen in this scene. So the flamethrower climax, which is obviously insinuating other things. That is in the comic as well as in the film, but obviously I think the film, it kind of plays out in more of an obvious way than when I first read the book.
So what would you say is the weirdest thing about it?
I guess it's just kind of how melodramatic it is, I think. It's
very over the top. Very over the top.
Yeah, it's an over the top kind of, almost like like a Spanish soap or something.
like a Mills and Boone cover.
Romantic.
The shirts are being ripped off.
But superhero,
but superhero version of that. Yeah, Mills and Boone. Yeah, I've not thought of that.
But and I think The Boys explores it in more detail. But like, I think you would be quite horny. Like, you're you're there, you're in the peak of physical condition, you know, you're both wearing bloody leather clad lycra, whatever it may be. Like, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I'd be like a rabbit. That would be my hero.
Yeah, they do. I think they do explore it in the boys a little bit, but they've also got some more intimate kind of sex scenes as well. They've got the ridiculous ones, you know, and the very violent, like smashing around the office and the muff diving and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. The face.
That has to be one of my favorite bits of TV ever. I loved it. Anyway, I'm going to move on to my choice.
Snyder. Before we move on, it's got to be said that Snyder has a penchant for the sex scene as well, because can we give a little honourable mention to the 300, the slow-mo? I've never seen a breast move in such slow motion in my life, and he took every frame and slowed it down by half. and the outcome
I've got to see how how gravity affects this one breast.
Yeah, it's magical. But yes, please move on before it gets weird.
Oh, this podcast is already weird. We've already made it very weird.
Too late.
It's already fucking weird. So I'm going to go with a comedy film. So obviously, bearing in mind these are supposed to be, they're not meant to be taken seriously. They are meant to be humorous. But I'm going to go with MacGruber. Which is a film that is based on a Saturday Night Live sketch, and has Will Forte, Maya Rudolph, Ryan Felipe, Kristen. Oh God, what's her name? Wiig. That's it. Kristen Wiig is in it. I love her to bits. She's amazing, and it's basically a parody of MacGyver. You know, the guy, the 80s TV show where he could disarm a bomb with using chopsticks or stuff like that. He could just make anything he needed out of anything. And he's just a complete fuck up of a character. He's supposed to be this badass. He kills people and he can get out of any situation, but he's really just cowardly, self-centered, conceited. And all the way people are like, God, you're a fucking idiot, man. You're going to get us all killed. And it's hilarious. I do recommend it. I've just finished watching the series they released as well on Peacock, which I thought was just as funny. It's just a silly, farcical kind of action comedy. Val Kilmer's in it as well as the villain, who is called Dieter von Kumpf.
Nice.
So that's the kind of humor you're looking at. It's very, very juvenile, very silly, very stupid humor.
Sounds right up my street.
I've
never seen it. I've never seen MacGyver either, so I wouldn't even know what it's spoofing.
I've not seen MacGyver myself either, but I know enough of it kind of from The Simpsons and from other kind of parodies and spin-offs and stuff. I get the gist of what it is. Dieter von Kumpf has stolen like a nuclear missile on something. He's going to blow up people. The plot isn't really that important, but he reunites with, it's just a standard action plot, espionage plot. So he reunites with his best friends, and best friend Vicky St. Elmo is played by Kristen Wiig. And she's always been in love with him. She's tried to start this really awful singing career because she can't sing at all, which is hilarious as well. And she does it so well. But they eventually decide, even though Dieter von Kumpf killed MacGruber's wife, and he's like, I'm never going to be with another woman. She's the only one for me. He decides actually he has feelings for Vicky St. Elmo, who's always had feelings for him. And he goes, right, let's get down to business. And she's like, and she goes, oh, but I'm a virgin. And he goes, not for long. And then we get, man.
That's not a very sensitive response, is it? No. She's just, been really honest there. And oh no.
And then you start hearing, mend these broken wings. And that song plays throughout. And straight away, you get cut to the softcore kind of porn lens. You're hearing the music. And you get a lot of belly button play, let's call it. A lot of fingering and playing around with the belly button of
oh no. Have you ever smelt an innie?
I can't say I have. I've not had that inclination. Has never crossed my mind.
Have you got an innie?
I've got an innie, definitely an innie. Yeah.
You never smelt your own innie?
I can't bend that far down.
Like just
well, I put my finger
in, give it a sniff.
I pulled lint out of it.
Guys, I'm going to be real honest with your listeners because they deserve honesty. I've smelled mine numerous occasions. It's the worst possible smell you can imagine. Like it's like poo, sick. It's worse. It's
Could that just be yours then? Maybe everyone's got a really nice smell. It's just
I feel mine's like a proper canyon. Like I don't know when it stops. Like
oh, God.
Yeah, like I don't think they cut my umbilical cord. I think they pulled it out. Like they've ripped the whole thing out from the stem. But yeah, it's how I imagine death would smell like.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean,
so I just wanted to give that bit of context, because if they're mucking about with belly buttons, not me.
Well, don't worry. Anyway, after that bombshell, wow. The next thing you'll be saying, like, what I'm into is having it fingered. I like it when someone fingers it.
This whole podcast is going to be the definition of TMI, too much information.
Absolutely. Don't worry, all my podcasts I list as explicit anyway, so this will be the most of explicit of the explicit.
Fair warning,
fair warning to people. We're going to discuss sexual activities quite a bit. But anyway, we have this. But then comedically we cut, we see his arse, lovely picturesque of his arse thrusting back and forth. And we see lots of other stuff while this song plays. And then we cut to him just absolutely railing on her and making the sound of like an asthmatic donkey, like constant, like, and it's the most unsexy thing. And she's kind of just lying there going, oh yeah, this is great. And it's just constant, and it goes on for way too long. Like a Family Guy sketch where it's like, it's funny that
sounds you doing the impression sounds like. Have you ever seen a turtle having?
I have, in fact. That's one thing I have done. I might not have fingered my own belly button.
Very similar sound to the sound you just made.
Yeah, it's kind of that, and you just constantly. He's like, and he goes, I'm gonna shoot. My
God!
And then he shoots, and then he runs away because he feels like he's betrayed his wife. So he goes to the graveyard. Now this is a bit of a cheat because this is kind of two sex scenes, but they're so similar. He gets to the graveyard. He's apologizing. He's like, "How could I betray you? How could I do such a thing?" And the ghost of his wife appears, played by Maya Rudolph, who's a regular on SNL. And she's like, "It's fine. Move on. You need to be happy." And then they get close, and then they start shagging. And again, it's the belly button play again, and it's mend these broken wings, and he's just absolutely.
How does she look as a ghost? Like, do they?
She's
ghostify her.
Yeah, they ghostify her a little bit, so there's a bit of a sheen and a bit of a shine, like a Force ghost almost.
Okay.
But she's in her wedding dress as well, so he's just absolute. Again, it starts that way, and then it cuts to the again, but. Because they're so in tune with how they have sex with each other previously, she every time he goes, she responds with wow, 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 wow.
Oh my God.
It's just fucking hilarious. And not only that, we get a scene of a caretaker for the graveyard walk over, and he sees this happening, but all he sees is MacGruber just like arse hanging out and just thrusting above a gravestone. He shakes his head and walks away. So that is my technically two sex scenes, but they're so similar and right back to back with each other. I had to just include them because I just thought they were hilarious.
I'll allow it.
You'll allow it. Okay. So yeah, I'll definitely check out MacGruber. I think it's funny. Again, it's very juvenile humor. I don't think, comedy's a hard one because obviously it's very subjective. You'll like a form of comedy and you might not like another form of comedy, but it was right up my alley personally.
I love like Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph and stuff. So, that sounds up my street.
Yeah, Will Forte's great as MacGruber, and there's some just fucking Chris Jericho's in it actually.
What?
Chris Jericho,
Y2J,
MVP, the Great Khali, and Mark Henry. There's a few wrestlers in there.
Right.
They make an extended cameo, I'll call it.
God damn! I need to get on this film. I think
get on MacGruber. But there you go.
Get on MacGruber and his belly button.
Get figuring away. Anyway, what's your next one?
Okay, so I'll tell you what. While we're on the subject of kind of comedy, let's go with Team America from 2004.
Yes,
of course, put together by Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Sorry, Team America World Police. Don't forget.
Yeah, obviously
Well,
include
police.
the subtitle. Include the subtitle.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Anyone that doesn't know the film, it's kind of done. There's no kind of about it. It's done in the style of Thunderbirds puppets, essentially. Now, I was wondering, is Thunderbirds like known in America? I feel like that was a British kind of thing.
It is to a point. There are some American fans because the characters are American, aren't they? They're an American family. So, but yeah, I don't think it's as popular. But yeah, it was definitely known, at least over there. There was some popularity. I was a big fan. I think I preferred Stingray personally. That was my favorite one.
Oh, okay. What about Captain Scarlet?
I never got into Captain Scarlet because
Captain Scarlet scared me.
It was a bit scary, but also I never worried for him because in the first opening song it says he's invincible. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
But the opening to Captain Scarlet's it's like a film noir, and he like shoots someone. It's like really dark. Like I feel like. I feel like that's how I remember.
I'll tell you what.
Anyway.
I'll tell you the one I prefer. I did prefer that to Joe 90 because I was watching Joe 90 and I'm like, obviously I'm a child of the late 80s, so I grew up in the 90s. And he's like the whole concept of Joe 90s. He goes into the future from the 60s into the 90s. So I'm like. And so even me as a child, I'm just going, well, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Why are you going into a few years in the head of the future? Like this is not the 90s. This wouldn't happen in the 90s. So that was just my early nerd like rage piling out. So Joe 90 sucked absolute balls for me as a kid.
I don't remember that one. I feel like I can't even picture that.
It's like Bernard's Watch, but shit.
Okay. Okay, wow, that's what they should put on the front of the DVD.
There you go. That's my review.
But shit, Bernard's Watch. What a thing. Anyway, no, yeah. So I was a big Thunderbirds fan as a kid as well. You and I, a similar age. First cosplay, can I say? I was a Thunderbird back in the day.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. I'm actually eyeing up Big Chief Studios do a nice 1/6 scale Thunderbirds. Ooh. Like they do a whole range, and I'm eyeing one up at the moment because I just think, that's straight in the nostalgia. Anyway, so talking about the nostalgia, Team America kind of praise on that, and the whole film is hilariously done with these. I actually think the puppets are incredibly well crafted for that film, and like I think you're kind of so distracted by the ridiculousness of the kind of South Park sense of humor throughout and the musical numbers and the various kind of controversial jokes it's making. But like artistry of creating puppets and kind of the mini sets and everything that they make, like I think it's a triumph. Should have won an Oscar, damn it. But yes, so this is a sex scene between two of those characters. And I know you might be sat there thinking, how does that work with two puppets? It works exactly how you imagined it to work. It's just two bits of plastic smashing against each other. There are no genitals. Because there isn't any genitals on puppets.
No.
There shouldn't be anyway.
You get the full Monty. So you get literally stripped down action figures like your Action Man. It's very similar to that. Yeah. And again, there's no genitals. They're just going away at each other. And I think that's probably why they got away with it, because there's no genitals. They are puppets. They're clearly puppets. I don't know if they could, I think it would have got a bigger rating if they had actual, like erect penises and stuff.
Oh yeah, and the only other way they would have gotten away with it is with the South Park style animation as well, like just having like circles and rectangles, like just meshed together. But yeah, they go through various positions. They cowgirl, reverse cowgirl, missionary, jackhammer, 69, blowjob. It covers everything.
You know your stuff, sir.
No one's ever said that. But yeah, and you get this amazing kind of original song in the background.
Yes.
Which of course is performed by Trey Parker, I think. Yeah. Does the voice?
Is it Only a Woman?
Yeah.
What's great about the full version of that song is it because it ends, it kind of like as it crescendos, it ends and it goes, or maybe even a man.
I honestly think those two, like, write music so well as well. Like their musicals, like because I'm a massive Book of Mormon fan, and I still to this day like think South Park, the like Uncut or whatever musical, whatever you want to call it, is like just an amazing musical. Like if you were to remove everything else, the songs in that.
He was trained, wasn't he, musically? So he knows his shit. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was fully trained musically, and then I mean, the first film he did was Cannibal the Musical from Troma, which I love as well. And if you've not seen that, get on that because it's brilliant. But yeah, I totally agree with you. South Park songs, the comedy songs, live in my fucking head. Blame Canada. It's gonna be a montage.
Up there where the grass is green, where flowers grow, and it's just everything. So
everything.
Good.
Or Brian, even like South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut was nominated for an Oscar, and it lost to Phil Collins, which they weren't happy about. Which is why they make fun of him in later episodes. But yeah, I absolutely agree.
Robin Williams performing Blame Canada at that Oscars is one of the best things to ever happen on anything ever. The lead up to this scene is hilarious as well. So Lisa is voiced by Kristen Miller, and then Trey Parker does the voice of Gary. They have this like ridiculous exchange where she's like, oh, maybe feelings are feelings because we can't control them, or he says something like that. I can't remember, but she's like, promise me you'll never die, and I'll make love to you right now. And he just, without hesitation, I promise you, I will never die. And then they go straight into it. And there's a great point midway as well where he starts talking to her and she tries to shush him. She's like, shh. But her finger just kind of completely misses his mouth and just kind of wavers as a puppet does, across his face, pokes him in the eye. It's just, I feel like when I look back on it, very few films have actually made me properly kind of laugh, like belly laugh out loud at a cinema. And like Borat and Bruno was like up there for me in terms of like, and weirdly enough, Jackass, don't judge me, but like they're just idiots.
There's no judgment on this podcast, sexual or otherwise.
And this film on various occasions, but especially this scene, was probably one of the biggest kind of laughs I think I've ever had at a cinema. Brilliant.
I forgot as well. I've given names to all of the sex scenes in my choices. I forgot to mention. So the last one was
what?
Yeah, I kind of given them almost, like this, like Crocodile Fuckhouse and shit like that. Like Urban Dictionary style names for these sex acts. So my first one I forgot to say was Ghost Getting Off, because the ghost is getting off.
No, it's good. Yeah.
They're not great, but I've given them names just because it was something I had a bit of time on my hands, so I thought about it.
Too much time, some might say.
Yeah, probably just a little bit. Far too much research being done. I didn't do much research because I watched one film for the research and I went, that is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. I'm not doing any more research for this. I refused. But I just went, what do I know? What do I remember? What can I look up again apart from watching the entire movie? So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's one of the best sex scenes in cinema history. It's hilarious. The song adds to it. Again, it's that soft porn focus, the way it's shot, just everything about it. Just the laughs and the jokes keep on coming. It's everybody's favorite, probably everyone's favorite scene in that film. The directors did say they went, we're never doing anything with puppets again because it was a fucking nightmare with all the strings getting tangled up. So that sex scene must have been the hardest thing for them to shoot. But I'm glad they did because it's just fucking.
That's what I mean. I think the work that went into that film just gets overlooked because it's so ridiculous and a comedy and stuff. But absolutely, because they never made as far as I know, the Thunderbirds never got like a proper feature length. Hour and a half,
There was a movie, but I don't know.
They had a live action film with.
Yeah, there was that movie, but there was a puppet movie as well. I think I'd like.
Is Ben Kingsley in the live action film?
He is as the Hood. Yes.
Oh my god!
And it's directed by Riker from Star Trek.
What?
Yeah. Riker from Star Trek directed that film.
Wow.
I watched it on a plane, and I quite enjoyed it in a way.
That's why I love coming on this podcast, Dan, because I learned so much. And today, I thought, out of every subject that we've ever spoke about, today might be the day I don't learn anything. But no, I'm learning so much.
Well, I mean, I learned about your belly button thing, so that's. I feel
you're
like
learning things you might not want to learn.
The stuff I'll immediately try and forget, and I might take drugs to do so. Right. Well, I'll move on to my next pick. It's not a very long sex scene, so
Right.
And it's from a horror film. It's The Shining. It's more of a sex act than having sex, I guess, but some people might consider it a sex scene, whatever you want to call it. It's oral sex, and it is the bear suit blowjob, as I like to call it. So during close to the kind of climax of the film, Wendy, have you seen The Shining? You know The Shining. You've seen it.
Oh, it's up there. It's up there.
Yeah, of course. So the finale, getting towards the finale of the film, Jack's running around, Wendy's running around with a knife trying to find Danny and all sorts, and all the kind of ghosts things like lovely party, all that sort of shit going on.
Yeah.
The blood's coming out of the elevators, like all the maddest kind of imagery, and that's this film to a T. It's all about the imagery and the disturbing, weird, off kilter, and a lot of it is very menacing and scary. This moment isn't, and this is why it always struck out to me. So we see Wendy runs up the stairs. She looks in a room. She sees a man in a bear suit with his arse bare. He has a bear arse as well.
Nice. My eyes, surprisingly, were never drawn to that area. I was just looking at the action in question.
Well, it's kind of shot from afar, and then they zoom in, and then we see another man's legs in a suit, and the person in the bear suit leans back, looks at the camera, looks at Wendy, and then the other guy who is receiving fellatio from the bear also stares, and they kind of just blankly stare at Wendy, and then she runs away. But again, it's not necessarily a scary moment. A lot of people obviously there's a lot of interpretations on The Shining. People have loads of different views or what it represents, what it says, all the details, all the specific details. There's a whole documentary. I think it's whatever the room is named in The Shining. I can't remember the name. I think it's 316 or something like that.
7, 9, 12,
yeah,
6,
whatever.
7.
Whatever the room is in The Shining, it's named that, and it's just.
I've actually got a key ring of the room somewhere.
Then you should know. Then
I know.
But there you go, and it always struck me because it just comes out of nowhere. Obviously, again, you get all this scary imagery, but that one I was like, it's not scary. It's just unsettling or unnerving or a bit odd or a bit off.
I think what The Shining does is it's so haunting because it throws, as you say, so much kind of imagery at you that you don't expect. I think I think some of the best horror of all time offers you moments that you don't expect, and that ultimately is what a jump scare is, isn't it? Yeah. You don't expect it. But what The Shining does is it kind of gives you things that are so kind of like left field or come with such a kind of jarring edit that it stays with you. For me, it's like The Exorcist. Like one of the main reasons The Exorcist makes me feel so uncomfortable is those subliminal, what do they call them?
Subliminal
the face
sort of thing, yeah.
Zazu or something when he flashes out the face.
Pazuzu, yeah. You see that demonic face, don't you? Kind of, it's kind of within like a half a frame or something of it.
Yeah, and that, like, when I first experienced that, it made me feel uncomfortable because I didn't really catch what it was. I didn't really know why it was there. And you're kind of running through all these questions while all this stuff is going on. And I think that's what The Shining and Kubrick does so well as well, is that, things happen and you're questioning in it and you don't really know. And then you try to interpret it, and interpretation, the true horror is found in interpretation, because we will find the scariest reason for something rather than, the logical reason or whatever.
Well, speaking of scary reasons, I watched a video on YouTube about the bear blowjob, the bear suit blowjob. This guy basically put forth the idea that it's actually a child abuse story with Danny and Jack, that he's abused Danny. And that's a sign of that, apparently. But also within the original novel, there was a previous owner of the hotel who had a sadomasochistic kind of dominant, submissive relationship with a guy who would dress up like a dog. It's not, it's probably that idea, but, slightly different. But who knows? Whatever you believe that scene to be, but it always stuck out to me that it's just this odd moment. Again, there's nothing wrong with gay sex or blowjobs or anything like that. That's fine. Again, healthy relationships and stuff. And there's no issue. I'm not like, oh, I'm so scared of gay people. It's not that. It's just the way it's shot and the way it holds your attention and the way it holds the tension within that scene. And it's just like, what the fuck am I seeing? Why am I seeing it? It
just opens up a whole new area of questions for you. You're questioning so much in that story already. And here you are seeing, a man who is dressed impeccably well, receiving a sexual act from someone in some weird kind of bear dog costume. And you're asking yourself why, and you don't even have time to digest it before you kind of move on. So it kind of becomes this thing that just goes to the back of your mind that you don't really ever get answered. And there's so many moments like that in The Shining that even now it's like, I don't know the answer of why some of this stuff was happening. But
like you said, that's the beauty of of horror and the beauty of The Shining being such an excellent film and such a layered film that you can watch it just as a straight horror movie, or you can go into the kind of the deep analysis of that. But yeah, it always just stuck out to me just because it was just so. Again, there's nothing to do in the story with it. It's got nothing. It's not connected to anything really. It's just there, and that's why it kind of stayed with me. I think because it's just such an odd thing to place in the film without it being connected to anything really. Like, what is it trying to say? And I think again, we're all still trying to figure that out. And again, all of the kind of imagery in The Shining and what Kubrick was trying to say, or was he saying multiple things and multiple layers of multiple discussions and things. But yeah, that scene has always been just like, that's why it's weird, because within the film, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's odd.
I think you have to look at the time this was released as well in terms of context and the time it was released, how taboo that would have been to show that act, like any kind of act, even just
any gay act,
but even just a blowjob on screen in such a kind of explicit way, like how taboo that would have been at that time in a mainstream film.
I mean, it's still illegal in England, I think, at that point as well. So it was obviously, and there's probably something to be said about straight men's insecurities of being turned gay, or society is like, oh, if we all turn gay, then we'll cease to be, we won't procreate, and we'll all die as a species. There's all that sort of stuff, or like, oh, they're just after me, they're going to rape me or something. Yeah, so maybe there is something he was saying about that potentially,
or just kind of playing with it, playing with the fact that, like, right, we live in a pretty naive world, at the moment, and there's lots of kind of idiots out there. I'm gonna can I swear?
Sure, yeah.
Can I swear?
We
literally talking about
what
sex.
Podcast are we on? We talk about you fingering your own belly button. I think we can get away with you swearing a little bit.
I reckon he was just like, I'm just going to fuck with the audience a little bit, and let's just throw this in there. And I've got in my mind why that's happening and where that's from, but really what I'm playing with is people's reactions to things they're not expecting or things they haven't seen before. But again, that's me just theorizing. That's me just speculating.
Yeah, it could have been fucking with people, just like, yeah, how do you feel about this? Again, it's only for an instant. Maybe as well, he couldn't have gotten away with showing such a thing in such a regular way, like in a loving relationship or anything like that. Obviously, that's only really happened
because we don't know that they could have been in a loving relationship.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was just so we, it's so clever, that film, with how it kind of takes your mind on a journey, like taboo. Jack's mind is going on a journey. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's another weird sex scene. So what's your next one?
Okay, so I'm going to come in with the Simpsons movie.
Okay. That's a little bit of a left field choice. Well, I mean, all of these are fairly left field choices, but there you go.
Sex field. So 2007 Simpsons movie came out. That makes you feel old, doesn't it?
It does.
but it's not. It's probably the least explicit of all of the scenes that I'm going to kind of throw into the mix today. It's very much kind of insinuated that it's a sex scene rather than showing us anything. Sure. But at the same time, I think it maybe does that more explicitly than The Simpsons has ever done before. So, like, I think in terms of like Simpsons history, you know, there's been splashes of kind of nudity and kind of insinuated, you know, love making between Marge and Homer. There was like Colonel Homer in season 3, Camp Krusty season 4. There was the whole Mindy fantasy in season 5.
They call it. I think they call it snuggling, don't they? They're like, "Oh, we want to snuggle."
Exactly. Yeah. Snuggling.
I'm gonna snuggle the fuck out of you
with Marge. But like season 14, Large Marge, where she gets like a breast implant, I think in that episode. That stayed with me.
Just one breast implant.
Oh, and also season 9, Natural Born Kisses, like where they do something and then they have to run away and they're like in bushes naked and stuff. So Simpsons has always kind of had elements of like, kind of did it in the same way, you know, like Friends used to talk about sex without talking about sex.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s, I feel like that was quite good with us growing up because it was like, it almost got taboo in 2000. Like you weren't allowed to talk about it or even kind of insinuate anyway. But they're in a cabin whilst the family are kind of hiding from the can't remember what the organization is called now, but
I don't know. Albert Brooks, whoever he plays, that guy.
Yeah, the where they put the globe on. Anyway, and they decide to take the opportunity. So Homer props a chair up to the door, and then you get woodland animals and like a Disney style kind of in the background as the scene is set. So the woodland animals come in and like remove the clothes off Marge. Her dress is like ripped off by like a stag. It's so she's there then in this kind of very alluring silk nightie. And then Homer has to strip down, and the birds can't lift his clothes up. So like an eagle flies in and has to get his t-shirt off of him. But and then basically all you see is the animals in the corner of the room watching on in horror. Like you just see their faces slowly kind of change as they watch what happens. But yeah, it's a weird one. Like I don't know why. Like, and I'm sure there's a psychologist out there listening to this that could analyze my attraction to Marge Simpson. But like, I did grow up with a bit of a thing for Marge Simpson. And I don't know whether it's because of those various instances of kind of, slight nudity or insinuated snuggles or whatever throughout the seasons. But and when this happened in the film, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is pretty steamy stuff.
Bit racy.
A bit racy. She actually, around the time of the film, covered Playboy magazine.
Of course she did.
And there's a legit issue of Playboy with Marge Simpson, and Matt Groening drew everything, and there's like a fold-out poster and stuff.
Do the carpets,
don't ask me how I know this.
Do the carpets match the drapes, as they say?
If you search long enough on the internet, you will find that answer. Okay. You actually don't have to search for long at all.
No, I imagine not. I imagine there's some real, again, not shaming anybody, but that's not what I'm into. But yeah, I can see why. Like I'm a good fan of a nice kind of raspy voice, like a sexy, a Demi Moore, Demi Moore or Kathleen Turner, that kind of raspy, sexy kind of I don't know, femme fatale type voice I quite like. So I can see why, but I think maybe Marge goes a bit too far for me in that. I can't get into that.
Is it because she's yellow, Dan?
No, it isn't because that.
How dare you?
No, it isn't. I just she's never been. Every time they've tried to sexify her up, I'm like, nah, it's not.
I like, guys, if you're listening, help me, because I don't know what's wrong with me because it's a thing. It's a legit thing for me. Sure. It's quite funny, and this is probably gives people an insight into some of the weird conversations my dad and I used to make. But we used to have a countdown of cartoons that we're uncomfortably attracted to.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, I think Marge was in there. I can't remember, obviously you had your obvious things like Jessica Rabbit and stuff like that. But then I'll always remember my dad put the rat in from Flushed Away that Kate Winslet plays. Very weird. So on that, I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Sure. I think I get what you mean. I get what you mean, sort of thing. I get that. There's. I can see. I said on a recent podcast, I'm a little bit attracted to Mother Gothel of Tangled. I thought she was a bit of.
Oh, okay.
I was like, yeah, I like the old
abusive, but
yeah, absolutely abusive. But so is Homer Simpson. So if you want to pull that,
whoa,
I mean, does strangle his kids a lot.
I feel like there's a podcast in that right there.
He's not a great dad. Anyway,
now I think of it.
Speaking of dads, let's move on to my next choice. So. I've picked. I wanted to pick like a super serious film, like a proper, like Oscar nominated. I didn't want it just to be like full of comedies and stuff. So
yes, yeah.
And I wanted to pick one that is what you would call maybe a bad sex scene. It doesn't fit necessarily the rest of the film, like The Shining. So I've gone with Munich, and I've called this particular sex act "The Dead Men Deep Dicking."
Okay, I've seen this film, but I cannot remember the sex scene. So you're going to have to jog my memory.
Don't worry. So if you've seen,
describe it in the sexiest way possible.
I'll try, but it's not very sexy. It's really probably the most unsexiest of all the sex scenes we're going to discuss. So Munich is actually based on real life events. So in the 1972 Summer Olympics in Munich, the Palestinian terrorist group Black September killed 11 members of the Israeli Olympic team. So this is a very serious, very obviously probably very close to Spielberg's heart. Obviously he's Jewish as well. So, and basically the response is that the Israeli government send Mossad agents out to kill the people who are responsible for these killings. So it is a very dark, depressing, somber movie about getting that revenge. And obviously this conflict is still going on quite recently. It's still quite bad at the moment. So it is very serious film, and the tone is all the way through. It's very much that kind of tone all the way through. It's a bit long. It's like 3 hours, but again, it's one of those kind of Oscar bait type movies anyway. It's got Eric Bana in it. I think Daniel Craig's in it and a few other people. So Eric Bana plays the main character. His name is, what's his name? Anyway, he's been through a fucking lot. A lot of the people he knows have died, a lot of the team members, things like that. I can't remember. I decided not to watch this one in context because I couldn't watch another 3 hours of somber, depressing shit.
It's a big investment of your time.
Huge investment for just that 30 seconds of a sex.
Exactly. Yeah.
I didn't fancy doing it again. So I'm not entirely sure exactly where it falls in the film. Okay. But during the sex scene, they show in the film earlier that him and his wife have a very healthy sex life. So they're having sex and, they love each other, family, very into their family, and they're great together. A very nice, loving couple. But after all these events and everything that's happened and all the things he's had to do and seen happen to his fellow colleagues and things, again, I'm not sure where it falls in the film, but I think it's something to do with that. And he is picturing, he's I'm sure we've had sex where we've been a little bit distant or we're maybe not in the moment or there. And it's very much that in this sex scene. So he's thinking about, he's depressed. He's not really communicating with his wife, and she wants to be close to him, wants to help him get through all this, like mentally. So she's trying to comfort him, and they just, she decides she wants to have sex, and obviously he goes for it. And, they start going away. And again, it's the missionary position, very standard. But during this, he starts picturing the attack from Black September on the Israeli Olympians.
Right.
And it's basically them getting kind of mowed down with a machine gun. And he's seeing all this and he's picturing all this in his head. And his movements get more and more frantic. He's not looking at his wife. He's clearly not, connecting with her in that way. He's thrusting. It's getting more and more dramatic. The climax of himself, and obviously the action scene with them being assassinated is reaching its climax, and it's almost like he's getting off on it a little bit,
right?
Because he's just going and going, and the rhythm gets faster and faster and faster and faster, and he's like almost screaming, he's sweating, he's throwing his hair back. And eventually, like, his wife's looking at him like, "What the fuck are you, mate? You are definitely not here." And he's just like, "Ah!" And then he obviously finishes, and that's it. And it's fucking weird. It doesn't work. I get what Spielberg's trying to say with it, but it just, the way it's shot and the way it's filmed and the way it's
what do you think he's trying to say?
I think he's trying to say that he's just been through a lot. And he's, and it's obviously it's affected him mentally. It's affected his personal life. It's affected everything. And he's distant, and she's trying to obviously get that. But it kind of comes off that he's kind of getting off on it a bit, picturing people die now.
Yeah, because you'd think it would be the opposite. He would start to have these visions, and then he would stop.
Yeah,
because he can't.
Get off me! Don't touch me!
Yeah, he goes floppy or whatever, and it happens to the best of us. Like,
sure. Even Night Owl happens to Night Owl, doesn't it? So,
exactly.
So exactly. But yeah, it's just the it gets weird. It gets more and more into it. But again, it's kind of like he's not doing it because he loves his wife or likes his wife particularly. He's just there. It's almost like he's just going through the motions. But again, the more he pictures the killing and the assassinations, the more he kind of gets into it. And I think Eric Bana's doing the best he can, but I don't think he is helped by the way it's filmed, the way it keeps cutting back and forth. It's very odd. And I think he maybe needed a bit more dialogue, because it kind of ends and that's it. They don't really talk about it or say anything, or what the fuck.
Yeah, that's.
And she doesn't stop him either. She doesn't go, "Get off me! What you doing? Where are you? I want you here with me." It's fucking bizarre. But people seem to.
Because I think that could have been a good choice, to have him kind of getting aggressive with it, because of I think initially what he's seeing, and then she stops him. I read somewhere that initially that's what it was, that it got a little bit aggressive, but they felt like, obviously it's a real person, they want to be a bit more respectful about it, I think. And they were like, well, that never happened. That's not in the story. I'm not like that or anything. So I think that's the kind of, they pulled it back a bit. But that's less insulting than showing him finish, let him. And that's more insulting to the real life people, surely.
Yeah, I guess it just doesn't work, and it's a scene that arguably ruins the film in some respects, because that's a lot of the time is the most memorable. This is the most memorable thing, because it's just Eric Bana's like cum face, sweaty cum face, while he's thinking about dead guys dying, basically. So do or do not check out Munich if you want.
Okay. I mean, it's actually a really good film, to be fair.
There's nothing.
I feel like I remember it being good. I can't remember it that well. But I do remember it being quite a.
I mean, again, like Spielberg is clearly trying to juxtapose it. I get it, but it doesn't work. It just really doesn't work, and it throws you out of the film. You're like, what the fuck am I watching? Literally. But yeah, that's my.
But you look at Spielberg's work over the years. It's not like he's a connoisseur of the sex scene.
No,
because he's used to doing these family films and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, if you've listened to my podcast with I Am Jack's Musings on 1941, he wasn't that great with comedy either. So
that put me off. I've never seen that film, and if I'd just seen it directed by Spielberg, I would have been like, oh, great,
World
with
War
cast
II,
and everything.
Directed by Spielberg. Oh, it's gonna be great. No,
sounds horrendous. Yeah,
it's really bad. Anyway, what's your next dirty deed?
Okay, the dirty deed is by two big old blue things. It's Avatar.
Smurfs?
This is the live-action Smurfs Avatar from 2009, of course, directed by James Cameron. Yes, Jake and Natiri get it on under a big old tree thing. So Jake played by Sam Worthington, Natiri played by Zoe Saldana, who, I'd be quite interested in seeing that without her maybe being a 7-foot blue alien. But unfortunately, you got to take what you get in life. 4 years this film took to make, apparently, a 4-year-long production.
Not as long as the sequel that's fucking eventually going to come out.
This is true. But I haven't they now made back-to-back stuff, so it's going to be like ready to go the next two are like ready to go or something.
Couldn't give a solitary fuck.
You're not a fan?
It was all right at the cinema because obviously they were brought back 3D for this new version.
I think
of 3D.
the 3D, the experience,
but when I watched it on a TV, I was like, "This is crap."
Yeah, I don't think I'm far behind you. To be fair,
Go on. Talk about they give us the old sex scene though.
Okay, so basically, what happens is, I mean, if you don't know the story, like it's set between in like 2148 or something, and we've gone to a planet to basically try and colonize it, or there's resources on there. I can't remember. It's a long,
unobtainium. They're after unobtainium, which is clearly the writer forgot to scribble that out. He was like, I'll just call it unobtainium for the moment, and then I'll come up with a good name later on.
Hilarious. I bet he thinks he's hilarious calling it that.
He was like, I'm very clever, very funny.
It's called Unobtainium, guys. Unobtainium. Hey?
Because they want to obtain it, you get it, but they can't, but they want it, and that's the story. Yeah. I honestly think he forgot to scribble that out, and then he got to the premiere and he went, oh shit, I forgot to rename Unobtainium.
Part of the story, so Jake, the kind of lead character, he is he paraplegic or does he not have legs? I can't remember.
No, he definitely has legs. They just don't work for lack of a better phrase.
And he's volunteered to be part of this avatar kind of process where they basically worked out a way to kind of reanimate one of the native. Is it or did they make body from scratch?
I think they make it out of the genetic material from the aliens and the humans because it kind of looks like them as well. And I think they then transfer the consciousness over through this machine coffin thing. I think, if I remember rightly,
it's convoluted, isn't it? I've just realised how convoluted it is trying to explain it out loud.
Yeah.
But yes,
he basically goes undercover and he's trying to learn more about the culture and what it means to be one of the Na'vi. I think they're called Na'vi.
The Na'vi, yeah. And he falls in love with one of them, Nateri, and they perform the act of it's known as Sahelu, which Sahelu can be done in different ways. So there's like a non-sexual Sahelu where you can connect. So they have these like long braid things that open up at the end,
like a tail,
and have like tentacles come out at the end, but the tentacles are almost like their nerve endings or something, and they can connect to every living thing on that planet, whether it be a tree or one of the animals or whatever.
I'm going to ask you a very technical question. What makes it non-sexual with the animals, or are they technically just shagging these animals?
Because they don't have there was a surprising amount of information about this out there.
Okay.
But yeah, they don't, it's non-erotic, it's described as non-erotic. So it's more of a spiritual connection rather than a erotic. It's not for pleasure,
Okay.
Because they do it with their children as well, apparently, like babies.
Okay. Okay. Fucking hell.
Oh god!
But technically, if you thought about an animal in an erotic way, which some people do out there, I'm sure, couldn't you effectively just do that with the animal, or would the animal reject you? I guess it's their choice
how they connect, isn't it? Like they decide before they go in. Right? Is this?
We're going to connect
me or you?
Sorry. I'm just before we start. This is a non-erotic connection, by the way. It's totally non-erotic.
You don't want to make the mistake accidentally as well. Like you've put it on the wrong setting, and you like connect up to your dog, and you're like, oh, now I'm shagging you.
Yeah, but then also the dog could have. My dog's tried to hump me.
Yeah, true.
So
up behind you, plug in.
You plug into the animal, and then they have erotic feelings for you. Then what's that massive bird he connects to? He's going to be absolutely torn apart.
Yeah, you could just like he's connected, just to ride it or whatever, and the bird's like, psych, this is sex now.
Yeah, it's connected to ride it, and he got ridden.
But yes, so just to clear that up. But anyway, Jake and Nateri do it in an erotic way, basically. So they go to the Tree of Voices, which is kind of like this massive sacred tree that apparently connects everything up on the planet spiritually and physically and stuff like that. And what the ritual, it's actually a ritual that if you want to go and get it on, you go to that tree and you do it under the tree so the tree can watch. Like the weird grandma from Pocahontas is just watching over you, just going, yeah.
Grandmother Willow.
It's a halo. Plug it in.
But again, I have a question with that. Is if you can only go and shag there, isn't that just loads of people just at it, or, like all the ways around this tree at some point?
Yeah, just think it'd be like just a big blue orgy, like
just like Caligula or something.
Maybe they're more selective with when they, maybe it's,
maybe it's a bit like Spock because they only do it like every 7 years or something, isn't it?
Or when you get married and have a child, like just
like you, yeah, absolutely.
As and when
that's what Grace
or whatever.
Exactly what MacGruber says to Kristen Wiig in that film is what she said to you. You're like, I'm still a virgin. And she went, not for long.
Nice. But yeah, it's actually quite a beautiful scene. And I know that we can sit here and take the mick out of like so many elements of that film and and it's been spoofed to high hell and stuff, but it's actually really beautiful. And they don't play the actual Leona Lewis ICU song. They just play the kind of riff to it, and I actually think that's a beautiful little piece of music.
Leona Lewis is not a name I've heard for a while.
No, I used to be like have the biggest. You know how you do when you're a teenage boy, you have a crush on whatever celeb you is the victim, and Leona Lewis. And people bought me her biography and stuff like for Christmas. Yeah, the more you know, Dan.
Was that your way of getting with it? It was like, I've got to learn everything about her.
I love that. It's like, oh, got a crush. Like, fair enough. You get the calendar, and as a boy, you look through it for But then a biography, like, strange.
I mean, if
like my mum who bought me it as well.
If we're going off that logic, I wanted to fuck Mick Foley.
Oh. Okay.
We're going off that logic. If I buy a biography, it means I want to fuck him. That's me. Sexy man.
Go.
He is a sexy
bang,
man. He is a bang.
You know my love for Mick, so
yeah. Don't worry. I'll give him the old mandible claw. I'll get those fingers in.
Talking of fingers, like those fingers on the Na'vi are massive. You could have a good time. But yeah, I actually think it's quite a nice, tender, beautiful scene, and James Cameron, like that sex scene in Titanic is beautiful. I think it's they're in love and they make love. Yeah. And that's beautiful. So the only thing is potentially problematic about this is that Jake's essentially like catfishing her, like physically catfishing her, like pretending to be, one of the Na'vis. So yeah, the only thing that kind of ruins it is it all happens and then it literally cuts back to the pod and the real life Jake just sat there creaming his pants, clearly, like.
And they're like, oh, we're going to have to clean the tank.
What have you done, Jake? But yeah, so it's that's my next choice because it's
it is weird. It is weird.
It's weird. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I was going to try and
it is sensitive and it's shot in a nice way, unlike some of the ones we've mentioned already. I think it is. Yeah, it is a sensitive. It's a love. I'd say it's a love scene rather than a sex scene, maybe, or making love scene. But yeah, it's sensitive. It's done in a PG way, so kids can watch it because that's what kids want. I mean, even when I went to see Lion King, I think I figured out what sex was during that film when Nala gives Simba that look.
Oh, that look.
That look. Yeah,
everyone knows that look.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, she's, and I was like, right, I know what sex
Whack
is now.
on Elton John, it's time to go.
Can you feel the love tonight? He certainly did, and so did she. Lion King. Anyway, I mean, even that film has sex in it, doesn't it? Like in the stars or something. That's the thing they cut out, wasn't it? That it said sex or something.
But again, this was the 90s, and it was like
crazy times.
You'd let kids know about it though. Like I do feel like there's this kind of. I very much kind of want to be honest as much as possible because I think sometimes if you shield kids and family films, you kind of shield certain subject matters, then it becomes taboo. And when things are taboo, then that's when people develop a dangerous relationship with it. Yeah. So like obviously you don't want to show like certain things, but to kind of insinuate and stuff is fine. And as Avatar
it's healthy to talk about it.
Yeah, and as Avatar does, it's a love scene, which is important because it's showing people or big blue aliens make love and not, just have sex or like porn is not making love, is it? Like
No,
when a kid watches porn, like which inevitably, unfortunately, will happen in this modern era.
Sure.
You know, that you don't want them to think that's what it's like, because it's like, weirdly enough, someone plugging their ponytail into someone else's ponytail is actually more of a realistic representation of like making love than porn.
Great. Well, on that note, I think we'll
Uncle
move on.
Ben, here to educate.
Uncle Ben has told me I need to stick my blue tail in another cat's blue tail. Very realistic sex scene. So thanks for that. Going from one sci-fi epic to another, I have picked the psychedelic 60s comic book adaptation of Jane Fonda in Barberella, Queen of the Galaxy. It is a unusual film, to say the least. It does have, it's very tongue-in-cheek. It's not a film to be taken seriously, because it opens with Jane Fonda in a gravity-free kind of float, and she's constantly kind of changing her clothes.
She's ruddy-duddy, as we say in this house.
She is ruddy-duddy, absolutely ruddy-duddy. And she's floating around. It's very suggestive, very sexy, and there's a title song playing over it. And you get the sense that it's very tongue-in-cheek, because she's this kind of like ditzy secret agent, space warrior who has been given a mission by the president of all the worlds, apparently, to stop an evil scientist called Duran Duran, which is in fact where they got their name from, the band. And this film is probably right up their street, to be honest, because it's just pure like cheesy, free love, hippy-dippy, sexy comedy sort of thing. So Barbarella is sent on this mission. She crash lands on various planets, meets various men, and sleeps with them. She is she's all consensual, very, very kind of. They actually make love in a different way, which I'm going to get onto. Okay. But she learns the old archaic way that we still do, the physical way of lovemaking. So it definitely influenced things like Demolition Man going on, what I'm going to describe now. But she learns where
you're going with this.
Yeah, so she learns that there's an old way of having sex, and she actually prefers it. She prefers the intimate way, and there's various kind of scenes where she's like,
convenient.
I need this, and I need you to do this. She was like, well, I know what you want. Unzips her clothes, has sex. It's a very kind of liberated kind of film, but it's also like, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit cheese. It's a bit camp. She even has sex with an angel at one point. It's proper weird. I'm still not sure if I like it or loathe it. It's in that weird. I need to see it again, I think.
She sounds like a female James Bond.
A little bit, yeah. There is a little bit of that. And it's very much of that era, of that kind of 60s James Bond era. But it's a bit more, like I said, it's a bit more tongue-in-cheek. It's a bit more camp. It's probably more like a Roger Moore-esque kind of Bond film. But
do you say it's offensive to women in the way that she is, or
no? I think you can be liberated and have multiple partners. I think maybe that it gets to a point sometimes in it where it's just like that's her only thing that she can do to solve the situation sometimes. Or these men will the only way she'll get what she wants is if these men get to have sex with her type of thing. So there's a little bit of that, but again, that's just a sign of the times. There's even a moment in it as well. There's a few sex scenes, like I've said, but there's a moment in it where she's actually tortured by a device I think has been called the Orgasmatron, which is a machine that strips her of her clothes and gives her an orgasm so good that it could cause her own death. Death by orgasm. So, and again, it's very tongue-in-cheek. It's like,
it sounds like it was written by a teenage boy.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, but I think if it wasn't done in that playful kind of style, it probably if he told it absolutely seriously, it wouldn't work. And I think Jane Fonda knew that, and she's great in it. She's absolutely hilarious. She's like, and she knows the kind of character she's playing. She's very, she gets the job done. She does everything. Spoilers for a film from the 1960s, but it's great in that way. So yeah, I think it is quite liberated, but within, obviously, it's still an old film, so don't go in expecting that there's not going to be some kind of icky stuff, because there probably is arguably some icky stuff. But one of the sex scenes I'm talking about is the one with a character called Dildano. Yeah, he's called Dildano. So I've called this sex scene "Doing It with Dildano." It is basically he's a revolutionary on the planet of he's a rebel against Duran Duran, who's this evil scientist, and he's like, "Oh, I need your help, and I need you to do this. I saved you for this, but we must have sex." Again, much like the rest of the film, we must have sex. It's the only way I'll get what I want. And then he's like, and she takes off her clothes and he goes, no, not. I'm not a savage. I don't have sex that way, the physical way. We do it the old way, the way from Earth. And she's like, oh, okay then. So what they do is they both take a pill and then they sit next to each other and they place their palms on each other, just one hand touching. And during this sex scene, it's basically almost like they're sharing a life force or something, probably a bit like Avatar as well, quite similar. They both start kind of vibrating and vibrating and vibrating and vibrating. And then the hair starts to curl on Jane Fonda's head. And again, it's a bit awkward because he kind of doesn't know how to do it. So she has to kind of show him, and he's got a vague idea of how to do it. And she's like, right, here we go. And it's very
We've
much
all been there.
And it's very much like she's going through the motions. She's like, right, let's just do it. I prefer the other way, but we'll do it this way. Fine, whatever. And she's doing it, and her hair curls. I think that means she's reached her climax. So she kind of stops, and Dildano's still there, like looking like absolutely zombified, and he's still shaking and vibrating, and he's just like absolutely like kind of like still getting off on the. And she's like, and someone walks in, and she goes, she goes, oh hello, and then she's like, oh shit, I've got to finish with him. He's not done. So she goes back into the position with her curled hair. I think she straightens out her curled hair and goes back to it. And then Dildano's still going. His hair starts curling, and then steam starts coming out of his head and his ears, and eventually he's like, yeah. And that's the scene. That is the whole sex scene. So yeah, I picked that one out of the whole bunch because I thought that's just the weirdest one out of it. So yeah, Barberella, Queen of the Galaxy. It is a bit weird, but yeah,
ecstasy-filled tantric sex, basically.
A little bit, yeah. There's a lot of that, but it is a very campy 60s film. But again, some stuff might not have aged so well, but I think some people will get a kick out of it. Again, it's a lead female character. It's a comic book movie. Strong female characters that weren't probably around that much then. And obviously, Jane Fonda is like such the feminist, as we all know, and she's brilliant and she's fantastic in it and gorgeous as well. And yeah. I don't think there's any nudity, so if you're looking for that, that's not the film. This is not the film for you. It's just weird, crazy. It looks great. It looks proper cheese, brilliant kind of 60s sci-fi classic, if you will. You can call it a classic if you want. But yeah, I thought that one was particularly weird. In a film of a lot of weird sex scenes, that was for me was the weirdest.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds weird. It sounds weird. Do you know what's funny, actually, Dan? Because you obviously sent me some of your suggestions before and vice versa. And I did look for this, but I couldn't find it. But now that and I know why I couldn't find it, because as you say, there's no nudity. So when I searched, naturally, Barberella sexy, the only thing I found was those opening credits with her unraveling or whatever in the clothes. So but yeah, that makes sense that there wasn't kind of nudity or whatever. So I mean, potentially, how fun could it be to kind of remake something like that now and really go in with the kind of comedy element and the self-awareness? And you could almost have someone like Anna Faris play Barberella, because my wife loves The House Bunny, which is an ongoing joke between you and I that my wife's favorite film of all time is The House Bunny, for God's sake. But, in that, she kind of plays that very self-aware, sexualized kind of Playboy bunny type character. So yeah, I am in this moment on the internet pitching a Anna Faris Barberella remake.
They did do a couple. I think it was Dynamite. They did a recent comic book, and I think they've given her like a full, like she has various outfits in the film. They've given her like a full bodysuit and things. I've not read that, but I imagine it's slightly more skewed to a modern audience and modern expectations for their like feminine heroes, female heroes and stuff, and probably a bit more stronger, empowering and stuff. But yeah, she wants to have a lot of sex with a lot of dudes. More power to her. If that's what she wants to do, and if it's consensual, why not? Why the hell not? Go crazy. Yes. So
That's Dan's tagline on Tinder now. Is just it will just say Dan, 30, 33, or what are you, 32, 33?
Almost 35. Almost 35.
You lie about your age, so put for Dan 30. Why the hell not?
Why the hell not? I mean, look at me. Why the hell not? So, this is your number one, am I right?
Well, I didn't know we were ranking things.
I mean, it's a top five, but there's no particular order unless
pretty
you
much
have
randomly picking them out.
This is your fine. This is your final pick.
Final one, yeah, because I really don't know whether it'd be right to put this in number one. 2016, there was a film that came out, and it was co-written, I think, by Seth Rogen. And that was Sausage Party. Dan.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
I have seen it.
It's, you know what? Like, I remember when I first watched it and just being so shocked within 10 minutes. Like, it kind of presents itself like for a good 10, 15 minutes in the first beginning kind of quarter of the film as a kid's film, as an animated kid's film. It's very tongue-in-cheek, kind of over the top. I think there's like a musical number at the beginning, and it's basically about kind of like Toy Story, when you're not looking at the toys, they come to life, but instead it's a supermarket. When you're not looking at the items on the shelf, they all come to life. And then kind of various profanities start coming in, drug references, violence. Like, it just kind of gets really adult really quickly. And if you like that kind of the sense of humor of like Judd Apatow type sense
super
of humor,
bad, knocked up 40-year-old virgin, that type of thing. It's Phil,
which are all like some of my favorites, by the way, ever. So I was on board.
It's definitely like juvenile, filthy humor, much like MacGruber. It's that kind of humor. So if you're not into the sweary, dirty, potty mouth humor, this film is definitely.
Why have you listened to this podcast?
Why did you even bother? Why do you even tune in? Like, if you're not after weird sex scenes, you're in the wrong place.
Interestingly enough, Dan, this is the second Kristen Wiig sex scene in this.
I was going to say that she's slowly becoming the queen of weird sex scenes. Like, also shout out to Bridesmaids as well.
Yes. Oh, what a film. But she plays Brenda the bun, I guess, the hot dog bun.
Yep.
And then Seth Rogen plays Frank, the sausage, who is the lead of the piece. But
Frankfurter.
The film happens anyway. The film happens, and the end of the film is this like really violent kind of like, they basically take over the supermarket and kill
a revolution.
Yeah, it's like a revolution. They kill all the customers and the staff, and it's so shocking to see happen, but also absolutely hilarious. And they're kind of, the day is done, and Frank and Brenda are looking out to the sunset, literally, and saying, what now? And Brenda says, well, I'm feeling good. You're feeling good. And then Hungry Eyes starts to play in the background.
Clever, very clever.
And it goes into it. So we get a hot dog in bun, splitting the bun.
Oh my.
Never thought I'd say that out loud. Yeah, and then like, weirdly enough, some of the kind of secondary characters, like the supporting cast, the friends, you got like a pitta and a bagel, and that whole thing's hilarious because it's like a kind of commentary on the politics of the Middle East and things like that. But they suggest that they also feel good and should, get involved. So they
give peace a chance.
They start kissing. And then the taco gets involved. So at one point she's like, Frank's like over the top of her with his friends, enjoying themselves watching, and she's like, whoa, if you're up there, who's down there? And she looks down, and Salma Hayek's taco character replies,
once
you go taco, you don't go backo. As she performs a sexual act on Brenda the bun. I think the music changes at one point as well to "It's Your Thing, Do What You Want to Do." So I'm just going to reel off some of the because it happens so quickly.
Like an orgy, isn't it? It's like a whole orgy.
Yeah, it's an orgy, and
food
like
items.
orgies, happens quickly. Lots of stuff happens, probably quite hard to remember. But I'm going to reel off some of the things I saw. So there's the act of bukkake. You get Meatloaf. Meatloaf playing a meatloaf.
Cool.
Motorboating, two individuals. You get Bacon doing something to some cheese and then sniffing his fingers. The chewing gum is kind of, there's like a chewing gum in a wheelchair, like a Stephen Hawking style chewing gum that's been chewed, and he's getting grinded on by like unchewed chewing gum, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I can picture it.
Yeah, there's a radish getting sucked off by a mushroom. There's like triple hot dog penetration I've written down. I think the bagel puts his balls in someone's eyes. There's some bananas, 2 bananas, 69ing. And at one point, there's even anal beads being placed into Brenda, the bun. I think that's it. That's all I could kind of, keep track of.
That's enough.
But there's a lot.
That's enough.
That's just at the foreground of the shot. Every single shot has various things happening in the background as well. Wow. It's debatably, it's probably one of the only like true orgy scenes in cinema history.
Arguably, there's not many of those.
To show everything.
Absolutely. All the sexual acts. But yeah, I don't remember really enjoying it, but I do remember maybe partially, find it like I do like that style of humor, but I don't think it absolutely grabbed me. But that end scene, you can't really beat it, to be honest. It was kind of like, fair play. They've taken the idea and they've pushed it to its absolute fucking limit. So I've got to give them that. And, even if you don't particularly like that, you've got to respect that they've taken the general idea and gone, what if we do a dirty Pixar movie? And they just ran with it. So.
Yeah, I think, and that's what it plays with throughout the whole film, is just like that weird juxtaposition of cutesy animation style and setting, and then really adult content. And you do come out of it just kind of feeling a bit flabbergasted and kind of like, what have I just witnessed? And yeah, nothing.
You'll never be the same.
Nothing personifies it more than that finale.
Well, excellent choice. Thank you for giving us your 5. So I'll
give us your last one. Come on,
my final. So I was thinking one of the suggestions that was made to me was from one of the worst films ever made, which was The Room, which is a sex scene is legendary.
Tearing me apart, Dan.
Tearing me apart, Lisa. But yeah, that's, you are my rose, you are my rose. It is one of the worst things I've ever seen. He's making love to a belly button, whatever. He's not sure where the vagina is. We have to see his arse going up and down, even though it's a hideous arse. All respect to Tommy Wiseau, but I don't think he's an attractive man, in my opinion.
Don't hell. Give respect to Tommy Wiseau.
Okay, maybe not. I take it back.
Back.
Anyway, I thought that is a good choice. I almost went with it. I almost went, yeah, you know what, I can go with that. But then I thought about another candidate for the worst movie ever made, which is Troll 2.
Oh, okay.
And I call this sex scene Penis a Poppin'. The basic premise for Troll 2, if you've not seen Troll 1, don't worry, because it's got fuck all to do with it, and it doesn't even have trolls in, it has goblins in. So this family are going on a holiday to a town called Nilbog, which I'm sure, as you've already worked out, is goblin backwards. So that's the big
I would have never have worked that out, Dan.
That's the big twist in the film, just in case you didn't know. It's full of weird fucking scenes. It's quite famously, there's that scene you've probably seen on the internet where it goes, "Oh my God, they're eating her. They're gonna eat me. Oh my God." That is from that film. That is from.
I've seen that. Right. Okay. It makes sense now. Everything's clicking into place now.
Yeah. And these goblins basically turn people into vegetables, because obviously goblins are vegetarian as well. So they have to turn them into vegetables to be able to eat them. And it's a very weird town. It's got all these odd characters, and it's almost a bit like a Wicker Man or a League of Gentlemen. They only drink milk and stuff, even though they're vegetarian. Don't ask me why. But yeah, it's odd, and it's full of odd scenes. Like the grandfather who's dead is telling the little boy to protect his family from the goblins and the oncoming danger. And they're about to eat this food, which has been provided by the goblins. unawares to the family. And the only thing the little boy can do to stop them from eating it is by pissing all over it. So we've got scenes like that in the film. So there's this kind of witch character who's kind of almost like the main kind of villain, if you will, in the film. And she's got a fucking ridiculous name. Credence Leonore. I don't know how to say that. Gielgud.
Nice.
Whatever that fucking name is. And Lenore. Yeah, Lenore.
We'll just go with Credence.
Go with Credence.
I think Credence is ridiculous enough.
Yeah, Credence. Just call it Credence. Anyway, there's a young lad who's joined the family, who's friends with the teenage boy who's with the family. Their friends have followed them in an RV, and he's sat in his RV watching TV, and the TV flickers and it changes, and it's a sexy woman in a black dress holding a corn of cob. A cob of corn. And all the sexy, the full Monty music. Yeah. There's a shit version of that playing in the background. The sexy music, like you can keep your hat on, like the Tom Jones version of "You Can Keep Your Hat On" or whatever the fuck that's called. Anyway, that's playing, and he realizes he's like, "What is this channel?" And she's like, "I'm not a program. I'm real." And he realizes she's outside, so he joins her outside, and she's being very sexy and trying to be very sexy, not accomplishing it. And she's not a bad-looking lady, but it's just not sexy what they're trying to do. And he's in this silky kind of black dress, and she's like, "Hey." And the music, and we get some of the lines such as, "You want to fuck me?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure." So they go into the RV, and she starts like showing her legs and stuff, and he's like on the bed, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really turned on and stuff." And she goes, "Are you hungry?" And she brings out the cob of corn again and shows that, and obviously suggestively waves that around. And he goes, "Yeah, I love popcorn." And she's like, "Good. All we have to do is heat it up." Puts the cob of corn in her mouth, kisses him, fall back onto the bed or chaise lounge or sofa, whatever it is in the RV. And all of a sudden, popcorn appears everywhere. It's thrown on screen, thrown on top of them as they kiss through this cob of corn. So they're getting covered in popcorn while they're having this sex scene. Again, very short, not much is shown. And then it cuts back. I think it cuts away and it cuts back, and he's still covered in the popcorn. And he's still eating it. And he was like, "Oh, delicious!" I think is what he says, because he's in a mountain now. He's completely covered, and she's nowhere to be seen. She's left, and she doesn't murder him or kill him. She just kind of leaves him. So that is my weirdest sex scene.
I'm so confused. You definitely saved the best till last. I'm so confused. So she. What? Exactly.
That was my reaction as well. It's got nothing really to do with the plot. I think maybe because she's fed him the corn, now he's going to turn into some vegetable mush they can eat. I can't remember. Again, I've not gone back and watched it, so I'm not sure where it falls within the context of the story.
I mean, if someone's in your garden and says, "Do you want to fuck?" Like, just you wouldn't take that risk.
You don't think sexy woman comes over to you, all
too good
sexy.
To be true. And if she's holding
Fair
some
point.
nice sweet corn as well, too good to be true.
Yeah, big cob of corn. But yeah, that is my weirdest sex scene, because I think that topped the room for me just because of the popcorn element.
I think it's topped all other 9 entries.
But that's it. That's our podcast. I'm not sure how long this has gone on for, but it's been
longer than either of us have ever.
Ever thought. Have you got any honourable mentions? Because I want to quickly go through some listener comments before we go.
Yeah, I just want to give a real honourable mention because, again, very similar to the Simpsons one, it's more of an insinuation. But Star Wars Episode 2 is weird, isn't it? With Anakin and Padme. And again, like it's insinuated.
She's a bit old for him, let's be honest.
Well, there's that she's obviously known him since he was a kid and things like that. And he's like, waving pears around with the Force, like showing off.
Is this after he kills all the Sand people as well? The Tusken Raiders?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a massive turn on,
Also,
genocide.
He's just so manipulative. Like, he's such a horrendous person. He's like, now I'm with you. I'm in agony. The thought of not being with you. I can't breathe. You're in my soul, tormenting me. Like, I feel like as pillow talk goes, that's
pretty shit.
That's a pretty bad.
I'm
attempt.
not great, but I can do better than that.
Yeah, and she's like, no, Anakin, we can't. Like, look, like, and they deliberately, like, it's like by the fireplace. She's wearing a kind of, for Star Wars, a fairly
sexy
nice
outfit
dress.
Yeah.
And
think about it this way: they're like you wouldn't go up to a priest in the most like low cut top you've ever had and be like, oh, I can't possibly have sex with you.
If the priest looked like Hayden Christensen, though, maybe. But she's like, oh no, she's like, we can't. And
we can.
He literally says, well, we can keep it a secret.
Because that sounds weird.
There you go. The origins of the worst villain in the galaxy.
Yeah, there you go.
All based on a
gaslighter, manipulator. Yeah,
I just wanted to give that a shout out.
Yeah. Any others?
No, that's it. I mean, Halloween Free Season of the Witch. We spoke about obviously in extent on my channel. The weird boob suck scene in that is worth a shout.
Quite an age difference there as well.
Yeah, too much of an age difference.
Well, I've got four different ones that I'm gonna suggest.
Okay.
I had more, but I've just cut it down. So I've gone for already mentioned Bruno, and the opening sex scene for that. I had a friend who was fairly religious or conservative, let's say, and he saw the opening scene to Bruno and turned it off. And he was like, "Do you want this DVD?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" And he was like, too much for me, that sex scene, too much. And I was like, I think it's fucking
so
genius.
Funny. Yeah.
I called it.
Because that's the point of Bruno, isn't it?
Yeah. That's not how gay people have sex.
No, and it's gaslighting the homophobia in society, but Borat was gaslighting the xenophobia and racism in society. And like, I hate when people just kind of, just put down Sacha Baron Cohen as a stupid comedian when what he was doing was actually really clever.
Very intelligent. He's a very intelligent comedian. And it only works if he is intelligent. If he wasn't, if it was just stupid fucking jokes, and there was no risk involved, because a lot of the stuff he does is actually quite risky, like physically dangerous, And I respect him for it. I've always loved his work and will continue to love his work. But yeah, I called that one "Champagne up the Chuff."
Still coming back to me now.
So coming back.
So good.
Happy Time Murders. Have you seen that one with the? It was Jim Henson's son did like a murder detective thing with.
Yes. Yeah. I liked that. It's got. Is it Melissa McCarthy?
That is right. Yeah. Melissa McCarthy, and he basically has a sex scene, but then very comedically, like a puppet, just jizzes up the walls for about 5 minutes.
So much jizz.
So much jizz. Most jizz you've probably ever seen. And I called that one Puppetry of the Penis. I called that one.
Nice.
You like that? The next one was Brain Dead, Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, because two of the zombies have sex and give birth to a baby, which is one of the main characters. And I called that Corpses Copulating.
Never seen that film.
Oh, mate, it's great.
I know it's like cold
love
now
it.
and stuff, so I do need
love
to.
it.
Okay, I'm gonna get.
You've got a priest who comes in and kung fu kicks someone and says, "I kick ass for the Lord." It's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant.
So
you've got to see it just for that. And then Anchorman, obviously the sex scene in that, the animated sex scene. I've called that one Rainbows and Unicorns.
Nice.
Rainbows, unicorns.
I got it.
You get it. Clever. I'm clever. So I'm quickly going to go on to some listener comments. So I am Jack's Musings at I am Jack's Musings on Twitter suggested shoot 'em up and drive angry, shooting their load whilst shooting lots of lead.
Nice.
Hopefully they're not firing blanks. John Hammond, so that's at John Hammond 73 on Twitter, has said Demolition Man.
Yeah, so that's like a tantric situation again, isn't it? Yeah,
psychic sex.
Like Star Wars Holiday Special, style.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, absolutely. So our friend Dan Burgess, so that's at Dan's Photo on Instagram, has said any of Madonna's sex scenes. And he's also said the shunting from the Society, which we covered on this podcast as well. So yeah, two very weird sex scenes. Well, anything with Madonna in. Body of Evidence, especially, I think, with when she shags Willem Dafoe and pours hot wax on his knob and then breaks some glass off on the top of breaks a light bulb above a car in a car park and shags Willem Dafoe over the broken glass. So yeah, you could call them weird.
Yeah, I'd probably draw the line at the wax. Broken glasses is probably a little bit too much for my liking.
Paul Meller at the Meller Geek on Twitter said the Eternals has the weirdest movie sex scene.
Oh, it's pretty standard, just an outdoors spontaneous shag by the sun. Like
shag
by
nice. Spoilers by two robots having a bit.
Yeah, I guess when you think about it like that, yeah.
Two fucking robots.
Because the Celestials would have had to have programmed a desire for them to want to do that.
Even though they can't have kids.
Yeah, Celestials are like, right.
I mean, they must have
when
programmed.
I'm bored.
Yeah, when you're bored, have a bit. But not the child version. Not the child one. You can't have any sex. No.
Yeah, no, leave Sprite out of it.
Yeah. Paul's also said Crank 2 as well, and the Crank films with Jason Statham.
With Amy
Smart, is it? Smart?
Yeah, at the races or something, isn't it? Like,
yeah, that's correct. So John Hammond's back again. He's already said Demolition Man, but he's added Leatherface, Society again, Midsummer, Splice, and then a special mention to Team America World Police.
Nice, great taste. I was so close to doing Midsummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently that took like 4 days to film or something. What a job he got.
He must have enjoyed himself, I guess.
Apparently it was horrendous. The conditions were cold.
Yeah, cold and uncomfortable and stuff. Yeah, I can imagine that if you stood around naked. So our friend Dennis Whittle, he said Pink Flamingos, which is the John Waters film, Bride of Chucky, Howard the Duck, The Lawnmower Man, Crash, and again Team America.
Great choices. Howard the Duck. I had to get a mention somewhere in this.
I had to with the duck and the duck tits as well. There's duck tits in that PG film.
Some furry nipples,
feathery nipples,
flocked nipples,
feather down nipples. Anyway, so Tony, so that's Tony Farina again. He's been that's at Tricycle Boombox on Twitter. He's been a guest as well. He said Angel Heart. Have you seen that? Mickey Rourke, and I won't spoil it for you because it does have a lot of spoilery stuff. But there's a big imagined basically blood fuck because he's having sex with someone who's done a voodoo ritual with killing a chicken. So he's kind of imagining that while he's having sex with her, and that's an intense one. He calls it a blood fuck.
Nice.
So we've had Rhea suggested Demolition Man, Rhea Carrigan again from Femme on Film, another good suggestion. Max Byrne again, another guest. He said Samurai Cop.
I've never seen Samurai Cop.
No, I tried, but I couldn't get through it. It was so bad. What else?
It's supposed to be bad though, isn't it? It's like
kind of. I don't think it was initially designed.
Self-aware, no.
No, I think the second one is trying to be funny, but I don't think that one was. But yeah, Dave Horrocks from the VHS Strikes Back, he said Big, which is a bit of a... yeah, but that is a bit of a weird one.
So weird. Now that you... Yeah. Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Max has also said Moonraker, where he's attempting re-entry. So the zero gravity shag.
Such a great choice of words there.
Zero gravity shag. 4 weddings and a funeral. Someone said Showgirls, obviously. Showgirls, the dolphin bit.
Look, we all stayed up late on a Friday night and put it on Channel 5 in secret. Be honest. And
last one is Mike. Mike of Genuine Chit Chat, he said, get him to the Greek. The threesome in that is pretty funny.
I can't remember the threesome. Is Puff Daddy in that threesome? Or have I made that up? I remember the scene from Without a Snow in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And that was another one that I was very close to doing.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's it. So tell everybody where they can find you on the interwebs.
Yep, so I'm at Attention Seeking Geek on Instagram, where you can follow, you'll get all updates on when I post my videos on there and various kind of cosplay attempts that I try to do. If you're a geek, you'll feel right at home. And then my YouTube channel is kind of a bit of a combination of movie, TV reviews, figure unboxings and reviews, and then I do the odd kind of live show chit chat like we are doing right now.
Absolutely. I've been on a few of those, and there's links on my website, spiderdanthesecretballs.com, to some of the things I've done with Ben. So you can like, share, subscribe, and do all that good stuff for Ben, because he's a good lad, and he does some great stuff. So check him out and all the crazy, weird, and wacky stuff. It's about as weird and wacky as this podcast. I think it's a similar. If you're into this, I think you'll.
It's why we're friends, Dan. It's why we're friends.
That's our tastes. Those are our tastes. But you can find me at Secret Balls on Facebook, at Dan_Balls on Twitter, at Instagram at SpiderDan Secret Balls. And again, like, share, subscribe, comment, etc. And don't forget to use the hashtag #PrepareForPrattle when you interact with us. And if you want to join the Prattalion and to be briefed in full on all of the Secret Balls, swing over to Prattle World at SpiderDanSecretBalls.com. I'd like to thank my patrons on Patreon. I am Jack's Musings, Paul Meller, Max Byrne, Tony Farina, Scott Hodgson, and Simon Cotton for their continuing donations. It is very much appreciated and helps Prattle World keep on turning. And if you ever find yourself in a position to help the podcast, please consider it. So that is it. So that has been an intercourse, if you will, between the two of us.
Yeah.
Deep, meaningful, sensitive intercourse. I don't think anyone uses intercourse to describe conversations anymore, but there you go.
Or anything, or even intercourse. I don't think they use that word.
That's true. That is true. But yeah, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to reclaim that word. But there you are. But thank you, Ben. I think it's been an interesting idea, another interesting podcast. We'll see what the people think. But I've had an excellent time discussing this, so it's been a blast. Thank you again.
Right. I need a shower now.
Yeah, me too. I'm filth. Both of us are pure filth, sweating, lots of sweat in our discussion. But yeah, thanks again, and check out Ben when you can, and check out me, because we're both very sexy individuals on the old interwebs. Hopefully, you won't find any sordid imagery of either of us. Hopefully,
it's out there. If you look hard enough, it's out there.
Absolutely. Well, see you later, guys. Thanks again. Bye bye.
Bam chaka wow wow.